It's that time.
Now it's time for Greg Bishop and the Council Roundup.
Dan, the Council Roundup brought to you each and every Wednesday by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch, also open for lunch on Saturdays. And don't forget about delivery. Head West Subs. And last night's Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole meeting was only about 30 minutes long. They just hit on ordinance after ordinance after ordinance. We'll hear a lot of those ordinances and the dollar figures behind some of them. And then we'll also hear from former Springfield Mayor Jim Langfelder about the city's storm recovery efforts under a new administration. And he wanted to correct the record of apparently what a citizen had previously said. But we, of course, are coming off of the initial phase of a disaster, which even Governor J.B. Pritzker has declared Sangamon County a disaster area because of the derecho. And you had that spawning all kinds of other severe weather across the region. Then you had floods up in Chicago. Just a lot of severe weather across Illinois with the governor giving that declaration of a disaster. But in Springfield, Springfield Mayor Misty Buscher, not even 2 months into her term in office, got hit with this derecho, and it gave widespread damage across the city. A lot of recovery efforts still underway. At one point, there were 40,000 customers without power, reminiscent of things even worse than the 1978 ice storms, and way worse than the 2006 tornado that was very isolated to a part of the city. This derecho knocked over dozens of utility poles all across the city. It wasn't just isolated to a small area. It was all across the city. And the estimates right now are $20 million in damage just to city water, light, and power. That doesn't include whatever Public Works might have or any of the costs of overtime for police and fire and Public Works and utility crews and the contract. So a lot of cost there. And, of course, the goal is to try to get some kind of federal reimbursement if they can get that statewide total over $22.7 million. And it looks like they're probably going to be able to do that. So there wasn't a ton of focus on that last night, interestingly. You do have the former mayor, Jim Langfelder, addressing the council, so that does come up there. But let's get right on into it with last night's Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole meeting, where they started with the treasurer's report from Treasurer Colleen Redpath-Fager.
Treasurer's report for the corporate fund of the month of June. The beginning balance is $75,007,454. We took in total receipts of $750. We had total disbursements in the month of June totaling $25,934,386, which left the corporate fund ending balance in the month of June at $68,559,818. The ending general fund includes a balance of $19,473,945, which is the June ending balance of the ARPA money. Thank you. That concludes my report.
So $68.6 million that the city has on hand, and you've got the ARPA dollars making up around $19.4 million of that.
Page 2023.
Those ARPA dollars, obviously, we've heard are already guaranteed for certain funding opportunities for the city of Springfield. So be watching how that number is expected to shrink over time. But let's go ahead now get into ordinances up for consideration. So if you don't know the trajectory of city council here in Springfield, they meet every Tuesday, but it's not a full city council meeting. You've got the city council that has a committee of the whole where they deal with ordinances up for consideration. And it's like the first step, right? Similar to the State House where they have to read bills 3 times. Well, there's 3 instances of ordinances coming in front of the city council. You've got first reading that's typically released the Friday before the Tuesday meeting of the Committee of the Whole. And then on the Committee of the Whole, they determine if the ordinance is controversial and should be on the debate agenda and then debated at the full city council meeting the following week, or if the ordinance is non-controversial and goes on a consent agenda with a whole list of ordinances on the consent agenda that then can be all voted on at once in an omnibus fashion, right? So that's where we're at today with the Committee of the Whole. Ordinances that were on first reading up for consideration, and they're determining whether it goes on consent or on the debate agenda. So a lot of these ordinances we're going to hear deal with a variety of things, including city water, light, and power. Here's Clerk Lesko reading off these various ordinances for council consideration.
P 2023-298, an ordinance approving a one-year proposal extension and authorizing additional funding in the amount of $143,010 under proposal number UE 20-31, rental of crawler for the Dahlman Power Plant, Komatsu Financial LP, for a total amount payable of $510,403.32 for the Office of Public Utilities.
So obviously getting some new equipment, $500,000 there. It's not cheap equipment, no question. And there's a lot of high dollar ticket items for the city of Springfield Public Utility, City Water, Light, and Power.
2023-299, an ordinance approving a one-year contract extension and authorizing additional funding in the amount of $300,000 under contract number UE 22-06-38 byproduct hauling for the Dahlman Power Plant, J. Oros Environmental Incorporated, for a total amount payable of $1,300,000 for the Office of Public Utilities.
So with a utility, you got to get rid of the byproduct, and that's something that costs money. So you're looking at another contract there to haul away some of that byproduct. Let's get back into even more ordinances up for consideration from the City Water, Light, and Power looking to contract.
2023-300, an ordinance accepting bids and authorizing contract UE 24-05-29, outdoor 72.5 kV circuit breakers rebid with Graybar Electric Company Incorporated in amount not to exceed $2,723,675.25 for the Office of Public Utilities.
I have a motion.
And they put that on the consent agenda. So a lot of ordinances with high ticket numbers costing taxpayers and ratepayers for City Water, Light, and Power. Even more from City Water, Light, and Power to consider at last night's meeting.
2023-301, an ordinance accepting bids and authorizing contract UE 24-05-30 outdoor 145 kV circuit breakers rebid with Graybar Electric Company Incorporated in amount not to exceed $2,052,825.38 for the Office of Public Utilities.
Just to kind of give you an idea of how expensive some of the equipment with City Water, Light, and Power is. I mean, you're talking $2 million for, some components that they surely use quite a bit. That's just one contract. Up next.
2023-302, an ordinance authorizing a statement of work with Intergraph Corporation, Hexagon's Asset Lifecycle Intelligence Division, Hexagon, in an amount not to exceed $65,000 for upgrades of past cyber integrity software and for remote consulting services for the Office of Public Utilities.
So it's software and remote consulting software. It's going to cost like $65,000. The Alderwoman Erin Conley had some questions.
This is upgrades to our existing systems, or an existing system. Can you just explain kind of what this is actually going to be upgrading?
Well, so this is basically some cybersecurity stuff that we have to do for NERC compliance.
Okay.
So it's basically upgrading to the next level that they have.
And this brings us into full compliance with the requirements for
this, yes,
internet.
for this
Okay.
piece, yes.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
It's like going from the free software to the premium software version, all for their efforts to maintain cybersecurity. So obviously that was City Water, Light, and Power, a whole bunch of ordinances, some high ticket, $2 million, $500,000, $60,000. These things obviously not cheap to operate. So it just gives you an idea of just how much City Water, Light, and Power has to expend to keep your lights on, quite frankly. All right, stay tuned. We got more of the Council Roundup coming up here on WMAY. Brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. All right, stay tuned. All right, back with the Council Roundup with Springfield's Morning News on WMAY. Council Roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. And don't forget about delivery, Head West Subs. Just going through a bunch of ordinances from last night's Springfield City Council meeting. We heard all of the dollars that are being planned for CWLP, from hauling byproduct away from the utility to buying electrical components at the cost of like $2 million. Not sure, how much of that's from the storm or how much of that's just restocking what they need to have on hand for emergencies. But obviously, we had a severe emergency with 40,000 plus individuals out of power. That's been restored practically everybody. So it's incredible to see just the devastation and the steps needed to clean that up. But let's get back on into it now. Now it's time to hear some other ordinances. This one deals with the rail relocation efforts and trying to get the various properties that are needed to ensure rail relocation goes off without a hitch.
8, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of right-of-way from CSX Transportation Incorporated located on 11th Street consisting of PIN 1422.5-409-002 and 14-22.5-409-003 in an amount of $102,500 and estimated closing costs in the amount of $4,000 for a total amount not to exceed $106,500 relating to the Springfield Rail Improvement Project, usable segment 6B for the Office of Public Works.
Entertain a motion.
And
consent.
they put that on the consent agenda, but Alderman Roy Williams Jr. asks, if where this is at on 11th Street, and in particular, they said that it's in one quadrant of the rail relocation efforts, and they'll get more detail on that. But that's a more expensive purchase price than we've seen elsewhere when it comes to some even houses being bought for $20,000, $30,000, $45,000 or so. This is for six figures, $100,000 plus. So interesting to see that put on the debate agenda. Up next, you've got an ordinance dealing with the cemetery, Oak Ridge Cemetery, where Abraham Lincoln is buried. And here's how the ordinance played out last night on the Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole.
An ordinance authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Springfield and the State of Illinois Department of Natural Resources accepting financial assistance in the amount of $4,896 for Oak Ridge Cemetery to secure the premises for the Office of Public Works.
Motion for consent.
Second.
It's been moved to second. We send 2023-309 on to the council. Do pass recommendation for the consent agenda.
So it's on the
discussion.
consent agenda. DNR apparently going to be helping out a bit. $4,000 worth of some security providing Oak Ridge Cemetery. So yeah, that's a cemetery owned, operated by the city of Springfield, but getting the Department of Natural Resources involved in that. Interesting to hear as well. Next up, you've got some new liquor licenses, and this gives you an indication of some new businesses that are coming to the area. One from Conn's Hospitality in a new facility that's a tavern.
General City Business, 2023-310, an ordinance to increase the number of Class AA liquor licenses by one for Conn's Hospitality Group Incorporated, doing business as Trish and Mary's Pub for the business located at 107 West Cook Street.
So Trish and Mary's, named after a couple of Conn's Hospitality individuals who sadly lost their lives, and something I think is important to recognize, and they did so by having a new establishment named after them. So that's pretty neat. They also had a couple of Casey's getting some liquor licenses lined up at last night's Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole. So you have two Casey's stores that looking to expand their liquor licenses there as well. So that was on the docket last night. And I'm seeing here just where we're at. How about surplus property? You've got surplus property that the city of Springfield's looking to get rid of, and they have to, of course, approve an ordinance to do just that. They had another ordinance dealing with some planning for South Central Business District. That was also on the docket last night. Other ordinances deal with a change order. And this is interesting. I do want to pause on this just briefly, because when you hear change order with public contracts, that means it's going to cost taxpayers more, or it's going to cost more. And I did an investigation several years ago of school districts using a measure in state law that said, hey, you can go out and get contracts for new environmental standards, new AC units, new window fittings to ensure that you're not losing all kinds of energy and you're more energy efficient. And what we found was that these contracts were being entered into with these companies, and they were large contracts. But then after it was approved, there would then be even larger change orders brought to fruition, costing the taxing body even more. And it almost turned into a no bid contract change order that elevated the cost substantially. Is that what's going on here? No, I don't think so. But still, let's go ahead and hear what this change order is all about from last night's Springfield City Council meeting.
315, an ordinance authorizing additional funding in the amount of $26,998.14 pursuant to change order number 2 for a total request not to exceed $282,486 under contract number PW 23-06-48 with RL Valentine's Construction Incorporated for building improvements of the senior services of Central Illinois for the Office of Planning and Economic Development.
So you have that up there. Alderwoman Notoriano brought up Val Yezel to ask a question.
About the change order. Is anyone here to answer?
Val Yezel.
Yeah.
Calling Val Yezel.
Thank you. So the doors, were they in the original scope for this project?
They were in the original scope for the project. They thought they could repair them, but once they got into it, they realized it was a total replacement.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
Simple enough, I guess, right? All right. Stay tuned. We got more ordinances to tackle. Also, former Springfield Mayor Jim Langfelder addressing the council last night about the storms. So that's up next here as well. The Council Roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. Head West Subs. All right. All right, back with the Council Roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. And don't forget about delivery, Head West Subs. Last night, Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole dealing with all kinds of ordinances from CWLP to general city business and so on. But we also hear from former Springfield Mayor Jim Langfelder reacting to the storm cleanup. So stay tuned for that. It's coming up. But more ordinances up for consideration. Here is one dealing with some contracts. What do we got here? Just looking at it. Oh, yeah. Lubrication. How much is the city planning on spending for lube? Let's hear that.
315, an ordinance authorizing additional funding in the amount of $26,998.14 pursuant to change order number 2 for a total request not to exceed $282,486 under contract number PW 23-06-48 with RL Valentine's Construction Incorporated for building improvements of the senior services of Central Illinois for the Office of Planning and Economic Development.
Wait, no, that's not right. That's not right, is it? No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted the lube ordinance.
Just had a question.
Yeah, we already heard that.
About...
All right, let's go to this. Here it is. Here's the ordinance.
Number FM 24-03-09 with Earthel Oil Company and Rilco Incorporated for the purchase of oils and lubricants for the fleet maintenance for the public works from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025 for an amount not to exceed $110,000.
So, again, there you go. That's how much they're looking to that's how much they're going to spend on lubricants.
2023.
6 figures. So, gotta love that. All right, a lot to juggle here on the show every morning. I appreciate everybody tuning in with the Council Roundup. Let's hear more ordinances from last night's Springfield City Council meeting. The Committee of the Whole dealing with, a variety of different things. Here's the latest ordinance that they had up for consideration.
2023-317, an ordinance accepting bids and authorizing execution of contract number FM 24-04-20 with Henson Robinson Company for roof repair at the Fleet Maintenance Facility for an amount not to exceed $159,450.
So, roof repairs needed. Obviously, that's important to maintain properties for the city of Springfield. Let's talk about trash next.
With Allied Waste Transportation Incorporated doing business as Republic Services of Sangamon County to provide waste hauling using single-stream recycling for all departments of the city of Springfield in an amount not to exceed $257,421 for 1 year.
Alderwoman Conley had a question about this. Is this going to be for the general public, or is this just city business?
Does this include the recycling from the bins downtown that are located publicly? It's for city offices?
It's for city offices.
Okay.
For 2 cubic yard to 8 cubic yard large dumpsters to pick up for city business.
Okay.
So,
Thanks. Thank you very much.
So there you go. It's not for general use. It's just for the city's use, single stream recycling, a lot of recycling.
Authorizing additional funding in the amount of $520,066 for a total amount of $780,099 for the R3 Service Delivery Grant and authorizing a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $520,066 for the Office of Planning and Economic Development.
Move for consent.
I got to look into that contract. Extension, $500,000 here and there. Interesting. Okay. Next up, you got more considered.
2023-320, an ordinance authorizing additional funds in the amount of $1,004,112 to allow $450,000 per fiscal year for a 5-year contract with Trustmark Health Benefits to serve as a third-party administrator, TPA, and utilization review management team for the City of Springfield's health insurance program for the Office of Human Resources.
Entertain a motion.
Obviously, very important. Health insurance for city employees. And of course, that does come with a cost.
On an ordinance authorizing additional 2-year extension of RFP number HR 18-02 with HealthLink to continue to serve as the City of Springfield's health insurance provider network from March 1st, 2024 through February 28, 2026 for the Office of Human Resources.
So moving forward to get that contract put together. Then they have another contract that they're advancing.
2023-322, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of RFP VM 24-04 with Motor Parts and Equipment Corporation doing business as Napa Auto Parts for a turnkey parts store operations for an amount not to exceed $5,850,000 from August 1st, 2023 through July 31st, 2026 for the Office of Budget and Management.
Entertain a motion.
Motion for consent.
Wow.
Been moved and second. We said 2023.
Put it on the consent agenda. And what's interesting about that is I remember when the Napa Auto Parts contract first came together years ago, and it was a huge debate as to, well, is it going to go to Napa or is there some other local company that can provide, quality parts at a cheaper cost? And there was just weeks upon weeks upon weeks about this particular idea of having Napa be essentially the central parts distributor for the city's fleets of various vehicles, be it police, fire, public works, utilities. So Napa would get all of that business essentially from utility vehicles and such, getting replacement parts and whatnot. It was a long, protracted debate. Like 10 years ago under former Mayor Mike Houston, not Jim Langfelder, former Mayor Mike Houston. But regardless, very few questions raised about this time around as it was placed on the consent agenda. You had Larry Rockford. He had some questions about this particular contract.
Is this a sole source bid, or is this? No. Does it go out for bid too?
It went out for bid, and there was 2 bidders. One was local, which was Napa, and the other one was an out-of-town bidder.
Okay.
And they were significantly higher.
Very good. Thank you.
So not much debate on that. So we'll see that put on the rocket docket, so to speak, on the consent agenda. Millions of dollars of contract there. All right, so that's all the city business they had. A lot of various ordinances costing $500,000 here, $60,000 there, 2-point-some-odd million there. So you could see all the taxpayer cost adding up. But then you had citizens address the committee, and in particular, you had former Springfield Mayor Jim Langfelder there to address the committee. Here is the former mayor laying out some of his thoughts on the recent storm damage and the recovery efforts.
Is this?
That's not that. Let's go to this and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Is there citizens to address the committee, Mr. Clerk?
Yes. Jim Langfelder.
Jim.
Former mayor. And the mayor
Please
gets
state
up
your
there.
name and address for the committee.
Thank you. Jim Langfelder, 2125 Lake Crest Drive, Ward 1, Springfield. Appreciate you letting me speak tonight and give me the opportunity to address you tonight about CWLP power outages. Like each of you expressed at the last city council meeting, as a resident, I too want to extend my thanks and appreciation to the hard work and efforts of the city employees and all others who helped during this very challenging time. I came here tonight to correct misstatements that were made about the previous administration, specifically regarding AMI smart meters. When a resident addressed the city council looking for answers regarding power restoration and yard cleanup from electrical debris, he was not given an estimated timeline. Instead, he was told CWLP, quote, asked for AMI readers, which would have expedited our process in the past, and they were not approved, end quote. The fact of the matter is, just like the previous administration pushed for technological advancements like ShotSpotter, license plate readers, traffic preemption equipment, and city works, we push for smart meters and building out CWLP's fiber and electrical grid system. With regards to smart meters, CWLP wanted to do a phased-in approach so electric and water meters could be integrated. As was stated regarding the Environmental Act, the act of the nature was a weather phenomenon, not seen since the ice storm, so there was no one to blame. Instead of trying to provide excuses with false statements, residents want and deserve solutions and positive direction for our future. As nature has taught us, time is of the essence. The city of Springfield should expedite the implementation of CWLP smart meters. The initiative can be paid for through CWLP's electric fund. In 2015, the previous administration started with less than 6 days of cash and built up over 100 days of cash. Another option would be the Environmental Rebate Fund, which the previous administration and some members of this city council helped establish. If you have not done so, I'd also encourage you to read the Mayoral Transition Report, which provides information about some of the initiatives that were in progress and will help move projects forward instead of starting from scratch. As the pandemic has taught us, we don't know what tomorrow will bring. We need to continually assess initiatives and processes to best serve the public and prepare for our future. Thank you to all the city officials for leading in this manner and all the city employees for doing their best to serve others. Thank you.
So again, former Springfield Mayor Jim Langfelder addressing the city council, wanting to correct the record. A citizen brought forward last week. We didn't hear that during our review of the council roundup, just with all the other city business that was going on. But former mayor felt it important to address it. So there he was last night. It is the Council Roundup each and every Wednesday, a review of Springfield City Council happenings brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch, Head West Subs. All right, now 7:52. Let's take a break. But first, let's look at Springfield's